Welcome to Quick Tip Tuesday. Today we're going to do a measuring task. It requires a little bit more equipment than some of the things I've done in the past. So we're going to skip through some of the steps really quickly because you'll be able to do them. But you're going to need some rice. Now you could also use corn or legumes or dried beans or things like that. But I find that rice works best. It makes the least mess and it's the easiest thing to do, both teaspoons as well as cups. But you could definitely use a mix of other things if rice is not your thing. So generally, you would have a container that probably with more rice in it, or a smaller container with this amount of rice that would be covered and would stay in the material as what they're going to measure from. So this would be your measuring from bucket of rice. And then you would have smaller containers with the amount that you wanted them to measure into. So these would have the amounts written on them of what you wanted them to measure. So from this, you would have a scoop or something that they would use to put into these smaller amounts. So what I do to do those is I just take the tops, and you can see I've got, these just happen to be ones that I had in my pantry, and then these are ones that I buy. They're Ziploc containers. You could use deli containers, things you've saved. They don't have to be anything fancy. You do want to make sure that you've got something that is going to stay pretty airtight, because you're going to store them, and you don't want, obviously, any kind of vermin coming into your classroom as much as possible. So do make sure you choose something. I find it easiest to just do this with masking tape. It comes off pretty cleanly and pretty easily off of the plastic containers. You could use Post-it notes. Just if you're using Post-it notes, make sure that they're going to stay on, because you're going to want to be able to check these to make sure that they're right. So I'm just going to put, a piece of masking tape on the top, and I'm just going to write 1 tablespoon on the top. So I'm going to put that on this container, and that's going to tell the student that when we put it in his basket, this container is going to get 1 tablespoon of rice. So he's going to have to find the tablespoon, the correct measurement, and then take 1 tablespoon out of here and put it in there. I'm going to take a bigger container, like maybe this container, which has obviously a bigger top, and I'm going to take another strip. It might be so this one just says 1/2 cup of rice. So again, now you could also make it harder by making them match up the containers and the tops. So you could put all the containers in one, all of the tops in another, and have them match that up as an extra step. And again, he's going to have to find the container and the top. And then I'm going to do another one of these. That'll be a cup. I have to take the freezer label off of it from when it was chilly. And as you can see, masking tape comes off very nicely, which is why I use it for the freezer. And I'm going to make this one a little bit harder. I'm going to make this 1 1/4 cups of rice. You could also use file labels. They don't come off quite as easily. You could use dry erase labels too. Just make sure that they are going to stay on when somebody is, trying to press down on one of these, and they're not going to smear and erase themselves. And then I could take one of the smaller ones, and I could make a combination of that too. And then I could also combine a cup and a spoon, I can do all sorts of things. So let's just say I'm going to leave it at that for right now, so that just for the sake of expediency, I needed to show you a lot of different containers, clearly. And so then what's going to go in the student's bin, I'm not going to be all these extra ones, are going to be, I might, for some students, only put the measurements that they're going to need for the ones that I put in there. Or if the student is more advanced, I might put all the spoons and all of the cups in there so that they have to find the correct ones. Ultimately, that's what I want to do, because I want them to be able to go to the cabinet. You know, if you go to my cabinet in my kitchen, you're going to find all of the cups. In fact, you're going to find multiples of the same ones, because you can see I've got multiple versions here. And so I want him to be able to pick out the ones he needs. So that's an important part of the task. But to start out, you might start out by just giving him the ones that he needs if he's just starting with this. So he's going to find in his basket, not all of that, the rice, the cups, and these 3 containers. So this is what's going to be in his bin. And so he's going to have to go, okay, I have to have half a cup of rice. So he's going to have to take this top off. He's going to have to find the half cup, that's a quarter, that's a third, that's a half. Take the top off the top of the rice. Get a half a cup. Measure it. You do want to make sure that you've got containers that have wide enough tops that the cups will go down in it, so that you don't have rice spilling out because they can't get it into the container. So just be sure of that, because otherwise you will have a mess. Then he's got to close it. You've got to make sure he's got containers that he can open and close, because otherwise, again, you'll have rice everywhere. And then that goes in the finished basket. Then he's got to do 1 tablespoon. So he has to come here, and again, I don't know why I've never separated these, but 1 tablespoon. I like this one because it's deep, so it's not likely to overflow. So that's another thing to think of to keep you from having rice all over your room. So that's 1 tablespoon of rice. Now, some of these are going to be easy. I mean, all you're going to have to do to measure it is just pour it back into the cup it's supposed to be and see if it matches. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be close. So that's finished. And then 1 1/4 cups of rice. So 1 cup. I like this one because, see, I can do the shaking off while we're still in the bin. Again, make sure it's a wide enough cup for the largest cup to go inside it to pour out, so that you're not doing it outside. 1 cup. What did I say? 1 1/4. And 1/4. I also like rice because it kind of self-levels. And And then that goes in the finished basket. And then all the rest of it can go. He's got to put the top back on this. And all of it goes in the finished basket, and he's done. So it's a really good way for him to practice skills. You may only be working on teaspoons, tablespoons. You may only be working on cups right now. You may only be working on certain ones. So you can do it however, whatever combination makes sense for your students, but it's a really good way for them to practice measuring that. Now, you could get really bold someday and work on liquid measurement. That's a little bit messier, a little bit harder, but you could definitely put that in independent work as well. You could give him a pitcher with water and have him pour and do liquid measurement. Just make sure that you have something that really closes and seals tightly. And so that's a really good way for students to practice measuring out dry or wet ingredients. All right, so if you have any questions, definitely share them in the comments, and go to autismclassroomresources.com/category/IW inspiration for more independent work inspiration. Thanks, guys.